This is a forbidden testimony drawn from beneath the desert, a story told in precise detail for you to listen, drift into classified truth, and fall asleep. September 19th, 1961. That's the date my life split into two parts. Before that night, I was Betty Hill, a social worker from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. After that night, I became something else. A witness, a survivor. The woman who experienced what would become the first fully documented alien abduction in history. My name is Betty Hill. What I'm about to tell you isn't speculation. It isn't a dream. It's what happened to my husband Barney and me on a dark highway in the White Mountains. And it changed everything we thought we knew about the universe. We were driving home from a vacation in Niagara Falls and Montreal. It was late, after 11 p.m. We'd been on the road for hours, taking Route 3 through the White Mountains of New Hampshire. The road was empty, dark, just our headlights cutting through the September night. Barney was driving. I was in the passenger seat, half awake, watching the trees pass by. That's when I saw it. A light in the sky, bright, moving oddly. Not like an airplane, not like a star. Barney, look at that. He glanced up through the windshield. Probably a satellite or a plane, but it wasn't. The light was moving erratically, dropping lower, getting brighter, following the same direction we were driving. I grabbed our binoculars from the back seat. We'd brought them for birdwatching during the trip. I focused on the light, and my breath caught. It wasn't a plane. It was a structured craft, disc-shaped, with rows of windows along the side, lit from within. And it was huge, bigger than any aircraft I'd ever seen. Barney, it's not a plane. I don't know what it is. He pulled over, took the binoculars, looked up. His face went pale. That's not possible. The craft descended lower, maybe 100 feet above the tree line now. Silent, no engine sound, no propeller noise. Just this massive object floating in the air like gravity meant nothing to it. Barney got out of the car. I don't know why. Instinct, maybe, or disbelief. He walked into the middle of the empty highway, binoculars raised, staring at this thing. I stayed in the car, watching through the windshield. The craft moved closer, directly over us now. I could see details, the windows, figures moving behind them, humanoid shapes, but not quite right. Not quite human. Barney lowered the binoculars. His hands were shaking. He walked back to the car quickly, too quickly. We need to go now. What did you see? Beings. There are beings in that craft, and they're looking at us. Drive. Just drive. But I was already in the passenger seat. He got behind the wheel, started the engine, and accelerated down the highway faster than was safe on those winding mountain roads. The craft followed us, staying just ahead, just above, like it was pacing us, toying with us. Then we heard sounds, beeping, strange electronic beeping that seemed to come from everywhere. From the car, from outside, from inside our own heads. The beeping got louder, more insistent, and then ... nothing. I don't remember what happened next. Neither did Barney. One moment we were driving with this craft above us. The next moment we were 35 miles further south on the highway with no memory of how we got there. We looked at each other, confused, disoriented. I checked my watch. 2 hours had passed. 2 hours we couldn't account for. We'd lost 2 hours somewhere on that highway. Barney's hands were shaking on the wheel. What just happened? I don't know. We drove home in silence. What do you say when you've lost time? When you've seen something impossible and then can't remember what happened next? When we got home, it was nearly dawn. We were exhausted, confused, but something else was wrong. Our watches had stopped, both of them, at the exact same time. And there were strange marks on the car, shiny circular spots on the trunk that made a compass needle spin wildly when we held it near them. We tried to sleep, couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that craft, those windows, those figures moving behind the glass. Over the next few days, things got worse. Barney developed an anxiety disorder, couldn't sleep, couldn't concentrate at work. I started having nightmares, vivid, terrifying nightmares where we weren't in the car anymore, where we were somewhere else, somewhere cold and bright. We didn't tell anyone at first. Who would believe us? But the nightmares got worse. The anxiety got worse. Finally, we sought help. We contacted a psychiatrist, Dr. Benjamin Simon. In Boston, Dr. Simon was a respected psychiatrist who specialized in trauma and memory. We told him about the sighting, the lost time, the nightmares. He suggested hypnotic regression, a way to access memories that had been suppressed or blocked. I was skeptical. Barney was desperate. We agreed to try. The session started in early 1964, more than 2 years after the incident. Dr. Simon put us under separately. Didn't want us influencing each other's memories. What came out during those sessions horrified us both. Under hypnosis, I remembered everything. The beeping sounds intensified until we couldn't move. The car engine died. We coasted to a stop on the side of the highway. And then they came. Figures emerged from the darkness. Small, maybe 5 feet tall. Large heads, huge eyes, gray skin. They surrounded the car, opened the doors even though we'd locked them, pulled us out. I tried to resist, couldn't move. My body wouldn't respond to my commands. Barney was the same, awake, aware, but paralyzed. They led us off the highway, through the trees, toward a craft that had landed in a clearing. The craft was massive, up close, at least 60 feet in diameter, sitting on some kind of landing gear. A ramp extended from an opening in the side. They took us inside. Separately, Barney went one direction. I went another. I didn't see him again until it was over. The interior was bright, clinical. Everything had rounded edges, smooth surfaces, no visible seams or joints. Like the entire space had been molded from a single piece of material. They took me into a room and placed me on a table. The table adjusted itself to my body shape, conformed to me, like it was alive somehow. Then the examinations began. They were methodical, clinical, not cruel, but not gentle either. They didn't speak, at least not out loud. But I could sense their thoughts, feel their intentions. They were studying me, collecting data. One of them, the one who seemed to be the leader, was different from the others. His eyes were slightly larger, his skin slightly lighter. He seemed more curious than the others, almost ... sympathetic. He conducted most of the examination, took samples, skin, hair. They inserted a long needle into my navel. The pain was excruciating. I screamed, or tried to. No sound came out. But the leader noticed my distress. He passed his hand over my forehead, and the pain vanished. Just gone, like he'd turned it off. They showed me things. A star map, three-dimensional, holographic, lines connecting various stars. Trade routes, the leader called them. He pointed to one star. This is where we're from. I asked where Earth was on the map. He pointed to another star, asked if I knew which star that was. I didn't. He seemed surprised. Your science hasn't identified your own star's position yet. I told him we knew where we were. We just didn't have star maps like this. Navigation wasn't something I'd studied. He seemed to accept that. Put the map away. The examination continued. More samples, more tests. Then, suddenly, it was over. They led me out of the room, back down the ramp, back through the trees to the car where Barney was already sitting, staring straight ahead. They put us in the car, closed the doors. I heard the beeping again, and then I was back on the highway, driving with no memory of what had just happened. That was my repressed memory, what my mind had hidden from me for 2 years. Barney's memories were similar, but different. He remembered being taken to a different room, different examinations, but the same beings, the same craft, the same sense that we were being studied like specimens. Dr. Simon was professional, neutral. He didn't tell us whether he believed the memories were real or constructed by our minds to explain the unexplainable. But he noted that we gave consistent details when interviewed separately. Details neither of us could have known unless we'd discussed them, which we hadn't. The star map I described became famous. Under hypnosis, I drew what I remembered. An amateur astronomer named Marjorie Fish spent years analyzing my drawing. In 1969, she published a model that matched my map to actual stars. The base stars I'd identified corresponded to Zeta Reticuli, a binary star system 39 light-years from Earth. How did I draw an accurate star map of a region of space that hadn't been fully charted in 1961? How did I know about stars and their relationships that astronomers wouldn't document for another decade? People have theories. Some say we made it up. Some say it was sleep paralysis or a hallucination. Some say we were drugged or confused. But none of those theories explain the physical evidence. The marks on the car, the stopped watches, the 35 miles of highway we crossed with no memory, the matching testimonies given under hypnosis when we couldn't have coordinated our stories after Dr. Simon's sessions. But word got out. The story leaked. By 1965, newspapers were calling us. UFO investigators were showing up at our door. In 1966, John Fuller published a book about our experience called The Interrupted Journey. We became famous, not in a good way. Some people believed us. Most didn't. We were called liars, attention seekers, mentally ill. The ridicule was constant. Barney couldn't handle it. The stress, combined with his pre-existing health issues, took a toll. He died in 1969 of a cerebral hemorrhage. He was only 40-6. I spent the rest of my life trying to make sense of what happened, trying to understand why we were taken, what they wanted, what they learned from us. I gave lectures, talked to researchers, shared our story with anyone who would listen. Not for fame, not for money, but because I believed people deserved to know. Because I believed our experience was real and significant. The skeptics point to inconsistencies. Memory is fallible, they say. Hypnosis can create false memories. But I was there. I lived it, and Barney lived it. We both saw the same craft, experienced the same missing time, described the same beings. Over the years, I heard from others, people who had similar experiences, similar missing time, similar examinations. The details were remarkably consistent. Small beings, large eyes, clinical examinations, memory suppression. Were they all lying? Were they all having the same hallucination? Or were they all experiencing something real that science couldn't yet explain? I don't have all the answers. I don't know why they took us. I don't know what they learned. I don't know if they're still visiting Earth or if they've moved on to other worlds. But I know what happened to me. I know what I saw. I know what I experienced in that craft on that September night in 1961. We weren't the first. The first to undergo medical examinations. The first to have our memories recovered through hypnosis and documented by medical professionals. Our case opened the door for thousands of others to come forward with their own experiences. Some were credible, some weren't, but our case established a pattern, a template, details that would be repeated by abductees all over the world who had no way of knowing our story. I died in 2004, but before I did, I wanted the truth on record. I wanted people to know that Barney and I weren't crazy. We weren't liars. We were ordinary people who experienced something extraordinary. That night changed my life, cost me my husband, cost me my privacy, cost me my reputation. But I never regretted speaking out, because the truth matters, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's unbelievable. My name is Betty Hill. On September 19th, 1961, my husband and I were taken aboard an unidentified craft by beings not from this world. We were examined, studied, and then returned with our memories suppressed. It happened. It was real. And I've spent my entire life making sure people know the truth. Whether you believe me or not doesn't change what happened, doesn't change the evidence, doesn't change the fact that something is out there, something that visits Earth, something that takes people and studies them and returns them with missing time and fragmented memories. That's my story. The first documented alien abduction in human history. And it's all true.